Chapter 249. Even if the Mizukiage was slow, he realized that something was wrong. It seems that the Rokubi doesn't need his help. After all, he has been a Mizukiage for many years, and with his intelligence, he quickly figured out the general process. This bastard perceived that I was coming and deliberately pretended that the seal was successful to lead me to attack and cooperate with him to seriously injure the Rokubi. The bijou is indeed strong, but it depends on who the enemy is. Shimizu Garashi is already very difficult to deal with, and with the Mizukiage's attack, even the Kyubi may not be able to withstand it. If he had more time, he may be able to see through the opponent's plan. But the problem is that the situation at that time was very urgent, and he could only make a judgment based on what he saw and heard. And he didn't expect that the opponent even took into account the reaction of the ordinary ninjas. The seal image that looked quite scary should be used to mislead them. To be able to make such a reaction in such a short time, what a terrible kid. The control of people's hearts is not something that a teenager can do. The Mizukiage opened his eyes wide, and seemed to want to see the other side clearly. Is this a real genius? Not only his strength, but even his intelligence is far beyond ordinary people. It's just a small detail. The original 2-on-1 situation turned into a 1-on-1 with a burden. No, maybe it's a 1-on-2 situation. Looking at the murderous rhinoceros dog, the Mizukiage's heart was full of helplessness. The original fierce battle on the battlefield was temporarily stopped because of the arrival of the Mizukiage. The mist side originally wanted to cheer, but after seeing the strange situation in the field, they gave up the idea of cheering. It seems that something is not right. Is it an illusion? Why do I feel that Mizukiage-sama is a bit wronged? Garashi calmly put away the scroll. The collection of the Rokubi chakra was completed, and he was too lazy to waste his energy. After all, the Mizukiage is much more difficult to deal with than the Rokubi. Perhaps in the eyes of ordinary people, the bijou is the ultimate weapon. But in his view, the Kages of the villages are the real troublesome characters. After all, the strength of a tailed beast lay in its size, strength, vitality, and chakra. In terms of size and strength, he could use his spiritual beasts to deal with it. In terms of vitality, he could just seal it as a warning. As for chakra, his chakra was no less powerful than a tailed beast. Coupled with the flying thunder god's mobility, the so-called tailed beast was like a mobile cannon in his eyes. Of course, this does not include the perfect Jinchuriki and Kyubi. Relatively speaking, Kage, who has reached the peak in terms of combat experience and ninjutsu practice, is the real problem. Of course, it was just trouble. The difference is that he can defeat the Jinchuriki head-on. But for the Kage of each village, as long as they don't make any mistakes, he can only exhaust them, and this is if they don't run away. However, this is only possible with the powerful third Kage. Garashi shook his head inwardly. If it were the 3 disgraces of the shadow in the original work, I could beat them up with one hand. Seeing that Garashi didn't seem to have the intention to fight again, the Mizukiage was slightly relieved and sealed the Rokubi with the water prison jutsu. The Rokubi was seriously injured, and the seal on the Hozuki Shinzuki was personally placed by him. Without external interference, it wasn't too difficult to seal the Rokubi back. After doing all this, the Mizukiage said in a deep voice, "Let's stop here for today, this war may be over." Hearing his words, the ninjas of the 3 sides were stunned. Was the war really going to end? For a while, everyone's fighting spirit gradually dissipated. Finding a way out for yourself is quite fast. Although he was complaining in his heart, he didn't refute. Except for the few of us, everyone else's chakra should be almost empty. If you don't want to play a one-man show, listen to the Mizukiage. Jiraiya was silent for a moment and cancelled the summoning. Treat the wounded. Not only Kirin and Yunin, but also many ninjas of Wood Leaf were obviously relieved. Then, the 3 sides began to leave in an orderly manner. Asuma came over and asked in a low voice, "If the war is over, what about Kakashi?" "The war is indeed over, but not now." Garashi pondered. "At least 3 months, at most half a year." Asuma wondered. "Didn't the Mizukiage say that he doesn't want to fight anymore? You believe him just because he said so." Garashi looked at him helplessly and sighed. This is just him finding a way out for himself. If he really wants to continue, he He can just find a reason. Moreover, this is also a means for him to suppress others. Now that the anti-war sentiment is very serious, if we refuse, he can say that we don't care about the lives of the soldiers for our own interests. These old guys are really insidious. Asma shook his head and sighed. Speaking of which, are the ninjas of Yunin and Kirin idiots? At this time, they still don't choose to join forces. That's because even if they join forces, it doesn't make sense. Jiraiya's voice came from the side. Asma asked subconsciously. It doesn't make sense. Why do you think they don't join forces? They know that even if they join forces, it won't change anything. Jiraiya shrugged. However, thanks to the peace between you and Rock Crypsis, it gave them hope. Otherwise, their attitude wouldn't be as unstable as it is now. In that case, why are they still fighting? You have to understand that after they released the beast of war from the cage, the development of the situation has been out of control. Before the beast is put back in the cage, the long-accumulated contradictions must be released. Asuma nodded as if he understood. You're saying that their real target is actually each other? You can say that, but we can't relax our vigilance. Jiraiya's expression was serious. If possible, they won't miss the opportunity to bite off a piece of meat from Woodleaf. These relationships are so complicated that it gives me a headache. Asuma covered his head and sighed. In that case, I didn't ruin your strategy, right? Garashi looked at Jiraiya and asked. Haha, don't worry. Jiraiya laughed. You broke the balance just right. The Rokubi Jinchuriki is seriously injured, and Yunin may not be able to hold back anymore. Garashi nodded slightly. Once Yunin makes up her mind to fight Kirin, Rock Crypsis will also make their move. The involvement of the three forces should speed up the end of the war. It seems so. Jiraiya rubbed his chin and laughed. It seems that this immortal can finally be free from this boring war. Yes, I can finally be free. Garashi echoed. In his heart he thought, if Black Zetsu's design is still the same, I may be able to bring this war to a grand end. Chapter 250. 2 days later, in Yunin village. Is that guy really as strong as you said? Reikage looked suspiciously at his son, who seemed to have Garashi phobia. Hey Dad, don't look at me like that. Slammed the table angrily. You make it sound like I'm afraid of that kid. Oh, isn't it? Reikage curled his lips. It's not that I'm afraid, it's more like I'm bragging. AI chopped Killer Bee's head with a karate chop, interrupting his chanting. Then he said with a straight face, I'm serious. That bastard's strength is really outrageous. Of course I know how strong that kid is, but you're exaggerating his strength too much. Reikage calmly analyzed. He stepped on Hanzo and Inoki to reach the top of the ninja world twice. I heard that one was a sneak attack, and the other one was a joint attack. If he's really as terrible as you say, he wouldn't have ended up like this. But that was a year ago, I said with a serious face. He's a genius like me, maybe even a little bit more powerful than me. My progress is so big, it's not surprising that his growth is exaggerated. Killer Bee looked at us strangely. Why did he feel that his brother was going further and further on the road of Garashi bragging? In just a few minutes, he seriously injured a Jinchuriki. This isn't something that can be explained by exaggeration. Reikage's mouth twitched, and he immediately shook his head. Forget it. Even if his progress isn't as big as you said, the current Woodleaf isn't someone we can deal with. It's difficult for us to defeat Woodleaf, but it's not that easy for Woodleaf to defeat us. Speaking of Konoha as a whole, A's thoughts returned to normal. It's impossible for Konoha to completely trust the Rock Village. The fact that they left half of their troops on the Western Front is the best proof. In this case, their advantage isn't big enough to completely suppress us. Reikage nodded in agreement. The confrontation with Woodleaf remains the same. The key is Kirin. Kirin? They might have already guessed our intentions, AI said in a deep voice. Saying that they want to end the war. They're most likely going to hang up the no war sign. You think you can stop just because he said so? Reikage sneered. Oh, this old man is not a person who cares about face. But what if he uses this as an excuse to make a fuss and say that we don't care about the lives of our subordinates? A frowned. It will be a bit of a blow to our morale. Then just catch a spy and say that the mist used the slogan of truce to poison the water, when we relaxed our vigilance. Raikage waved his hand indifferently. If you want to start a war, you can have as many reasons as you want. Hearing this, AI and Killer Bee both looked like they had learned something. At the same time at Kirin's base. Elder Yuan, how is the situation? The Mizukage stood at the door and asked. Not too good. The part of its body that you cut off is too big. Even if it is six-tailed, it will be difficult for it to recover in a short period of time. Master Yuan sighed with a heavy expression. The Mizukage looked embarrassed and then sighed. I didn't expect that I would be tricked by a little brat. Sensei was surprised. Even you were tricked. Is that little guy from Konoha really that powerful? He's a character as difficult as Naruto, no, even more difficult than him. The Mizukage took a deep breath. He's powerful, and has an outstanding temperament. He's the perfect combination of the power of the first Naruto, and the wisdom of the second Naruto. I didn't expect you to have such a high evaluation of a person you've only met once. Master Yuan's old face showed a trace of emotion, and he immediately looked at Empress Shomiai. Little Ming, you and Violet Knight are the only two people in Kirin who have had deep contact with that guy when he was weak. Do you have any ideas about his weaknesses? Obviously, we passed the Chunin exam at the same time, but when I was promoted to Jonin, he was able to make Mizukage-sama afraid. Empress Shomiai was shocked by Garashi's amazing record. When she heard Master Yuan's question, her little face instantly turned pink. Deep contact? Actually, it's not that deep. Master Yuan sighed helplessly. Then tell me your opinion. Speaking of business, Empress Shomiai seriously recalled. He's a man who can't be forgotten as long as you see him. Even if you stand in an enemy's position, you have to admit that he's perfect. If you want to talk about his weakness, it's that he's too perfect. In the Chunin exam, he was willing to fight if you don't kill for some insignificant people. Seeing that both of them were thinking, Empress Shomiai waved her hand again and again. Using the people he cares about to set a trap won't work. I heard that Tsuchikage fell in this place. Master Yuan nodded first, then shook his head slightly. Rock Crypsis failed because they were too greedy. It's impossible to kill Shimizu Garashi with this trap. We can learn the lesson of Rock Crypsis. First, avoid meeting Shimizu Garashi. As long as we don't take the initiative to target him, even if he's strong, he won't be able to hinder us. Second, don't ask too much. We just need to get back the ninja sword they took away. After all, the current situation is very unfavorable for us. After getting back the ninja sword, it's almost time to officially withdraw. In fact, the Mizukage already had the idea of retreating, but this kind of thing can't be proposed by him. Seeing that Master Yuan helped him to say what he wanted to say, he nodded. Yes, we must get back the ninja sword before the end of the war. After getting back the ninja sword, we will return to the land of water. Empress Shomiai was a little worried. She always felt that these words were a bit ominous. Large-scale wars may happen once in a few months, but small-scale conflicts never stop. In the jungle, Kakashi and Rin were staring at a team of 4. Rin, don't make a move. After I assassinate the team leader, you wait for the right time to act. Kakashi whispered. Rin nodded. How are you going to assassinate them? Of course, I'm going to use this trick. Kakashi pushed the forehead protector on his left eye, and held his right arm with his left hand. Chidori. It was as if 1,000 birds were chirping in the forest, and the shining thunder was as dazzling as the sun. The attention of the team of 4 was suddenly attracted. Who's there? Rin muttered to herself. Isn't it an assassination? Kill them all, no one will see. Isn't it an assassination? Kakashi rushed out like lightning under the activation of chakra. In less than a minute, the assassination was completed. For more. Kakashi tiredly collected the enemy's forehead protector. Seeing Kakashi's kidney deficiency appearance, Rin didn't care about the meaning of the assassination, and hurriedly ran forward and asked nervously. Kakashi, are you injured? Kakashi shook his head. It's just that chakra consumption is a bit high. Rin blinked. Weren't you fine when you used Chidori last time? Kakashi sighed with a melancholy face. The Sharingan can't be closed. The consumption of chakra is too high. Chapter 251. Hearing Kakashi's explanation, Lin blushed. Oh, as long as it's not kidney deficiency. Kakashi sighed secretly. Chakra is the product of the combination of physical energy and spiritual energy. Continuous consumption of chakra, in a sense, is no different from kidney deficiency. In particular, he had a head of white hair and a pair of dead fish eyes all day long. During this period of time, the neighbors all looked at him strangely. Kakashi shook his head, trying to get rid of these messy thoughts. Then he made a hand seal with his index and middle fingers. Lin, take a rest, I'm going to refine some chakra. Lin nodded, and after cleaning up the traces of battle, she quietly sat down and looked at Kakashi. If only the bordered soil was still alive, and if only the three of us could stay together. She sighed in her heart. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps on the grass could be heard in the quiet forest. Lin stood up, but she didn't make a sound. Instead, she vigilantly took out her kunai and walked to Kakashi's side. What a vigilant little girl. The sound of clapping came from the shadows, and a pure white child, much younger than her, walked out. He's Hirako. This thought flashed through Lin's mind, but in order to avoid being discovered, she pretended to be surprised and asked, "Who are you? Why would a child appear on the battlefield?" "Ah, it seems that I didn't have much of a presence in the village before." Hirako shrugged self-deprecatingly, tilted his head and said, "About this, you can ask the person behind you." "Hirako." Kakashi finished refining and stood up, his eyes serious. "Why is it you again? It seems that the last time we met wasn't a coincidence. How can there be so many coincidences in this world?" Hirako shook his head slightly. "Although I want to catch up with you for a while, this kind of thing should be left for later." Saying so, his eyes suddenly sharpened, and he made a complicated hand seal. Puppet spell activate. Kakashi's eyes instantly lost their luster, but at this moment, the ice crystal pendant on his chest trembled slightly, and a chill rushed to his heart. The next moment, the trembling Kakashi's eyes regained their luster. For the first time, Hirako, who had maintained a calm demeanor since he appeared, revealed an expression of disbelief. "How is this possible? My puppet curse didn't lose its effect, so why are you?" The Magatama in Kakashi's left Sharingan spun rapidly, and white lightning flashed in his right palm. This question should be left for Hell Chidori. While the ice crystal pendant was trembling, inside Woodleaf's camp, Garashi, who was training Asma and the others, suddenly stopped and used Flying Thunder God to teleport out of the battlefield. "The enemy has appeared." "Enemy? What enemy?" Asma was dizzy from the beating and couldn't react for a while. Could it be that Hirako? Shueimu's eyes narrowed. "That's right." Garashi nodded and glanced at everyone. "Asma, Shueimu, Hong, and Mute. The four of you come with me and prepare the 4 violet flame array to trap the enemy." "Roger." Knowing that time was of the essence, they didn't hesitate and quickly put their right hand on Garashi's shoulder. The next moment, Garashi's group of 5 teleported to the place closest to Kakashi. Violent lightning flashed in the forest, and finally turned into a white streak of light that rushed towards Hirako. Hirako, on the other hand, seemed to be unable to react and stood in place absent-mindedly. "Great, it hit." Seeing Kakashi hit the enemy on the first try, Rin couldn't help but exclaim. But soon, the surprise in her eyes turned into horror. Chidori, who used to be able to cut through rocks, didn't do anything when she hit the enemy. "This kind of weak thrust, are you trying to tickle me?" Even Kakashi's eyes were filled with disbelief. Looking at Hirako, who was so close to him, he whispered, "How is this possible?" Before he could even finish his words, he was sent flying by Hirako's kick and slammed into a large tree. Hirako patted his torn clothes and smiled calmly. "Why do you look so surprised?" "I can feel that my attack was absorbed by you at the last moment." Kakashi stood up with his hand on his chest and asked in surprise, "But Chidori is a combination of lightning and physical attack. It shouldn't be like this." "The nether release that absorbs all chakra, and the steel release that blocks all physical attacks." Hirako opened his arms, as if showing off his masterpiece. "I have these 2 Kekkei Jinkai at the same time." These 2 Kekkei Jinkai appeared in the same person. Rin covered her mouth in shock. "Doesn't this mean that he's already in an invincible position? How is this possible?" Kakashi was really surprised this time. "You, An ordinary person not only succeeded in transplanting a Kekii Genkai, you even have two Kekii Genkai at the same time. If it weren't for the fact that I had to carefully choose a suitable Kekii Genkai, I would have more than two Kekii Genkai by now. Hirako shook his head slightly then smiled. But it doesn't matter. I will soon have a third Kekii Genkai. Kakashi gently touched his left eye. So you really took a fancy to it? I'm sorry, but this is a precious gift left to me by a friend. I can't let you take it away. Hirako smiled indifferently. It doesn't matter. I will take it myself, but if I do it myself, I won't be too gentle. Then let's give it a try. Kakashi bit his finger and slapped the blood contract on the ground. Summoning Jutsu. With a few howls, 8 ninja dogs appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Ninja dogs. Hirako chuckled. Are you here to deliver dog meat to me? Brats these days are really rude, Parker said with disdain. Don't you know that dogs are man's best friend? Yes, yes, Blue echoed. On behalf of all dog lovers, I express my strong condemnation. Hirako's mouth twitched. You are a dog yourself. That's why I said I'm a representative. Blue snorted, then turned around and asked. Kakashi, where did you find such an idiotic enemy? You. Hirako was so angry that he laughed and shook his head self-deprecatingly. I'm actually bored enough to say such nonsense to you. It seems that loneliness is indeed man's greatest enemy. Next, have you decided how you want to die? Nether release, evil self-destruction. Hirako raised his right hand, and a flash of lightning was released. Is this my Chidori? Kakashi felt a sense of familiarity from Hirako's attack. This guy's nether release can absorb attacks and return them. Chapter 252. Everyone dodge quickly, don't attack rashly. Kakashi calmly analyzed while moving. Any probing attack will be absorbed by him and become his strength. Is this guy so evil? Parker was startled and hurriedly ran away. Then how do we fight? Find the right opportunity and stagger your attacks. Kakashi was very clear-headed. He wasn't scared by the so-called perfect cooperation of the two Kekii Genkai. No matter how powerful a ninjutsu is, it's based on chakra. Unless this guy is a tailed beast like Senpai, it's absolutely impossible for him to use these two Kekii Genkai all the time. This means that as long as they stagger their attacks and seize the opportunity when this guy is using the Kekii Genkai, they can cause effective damage. As Kakashi's ninja dog, Parker and the other dogs quickly understood. The 8 dogs quickly ran around Hirako, while Kakashi stood on the side, waiting for the right opportunity to put psychological pressure on Hirako. Lin stood in the distance, holding a few shurikens, ready to throw them at any time. Just as Hirako was about to get distracted by the pressure, Kakashi suddenly shouted. Now, after hearing Kakashi's order, Blue took the lead and opened his mouth to bite Hirako. Although he has 2 powerful Kekii Genkai, after all, he's not a fighter, and his taijutsu is a mess, so Hirako dodged sideways and sent his head into the dog's mouth. Blue was also stunned for a moment. It's the first time he saw someone so cooperative. Hirako was embarrassed, but he still managed to maintain his character. A cold voice came out from his mouth. Even if I take the initiative to cooperate with your attack, you can't hurt me. Looking at the kobold's head in the dog's mouth, Kakashi was silent for a while, then decisively ordered. Blue, bite his neck. Wind release, air extraction technique. Humph. For me, who has steel release. Ugh, what are you doing? Hirako felt that he was about to suffocate. He opened his mouth with both hands, and his 2 short legs crazily kicked. Dark release, evil self-destruction, the remnant of lightning release. Chakra burst in the dog's mouth, and Blue was so shocked that he subconsciously opened his mouth. Hiru felt dizzy as he breathed in air again. Kakashi hurriedly said, Now! 7 hounds, who were already prepared, quickly launched an attack. Kakashi also completed the ninjutsu as fast as he could. Great fireball technique. Hiru woke up from the pain, and hurriedly used steel release and underworld release. However, at this time, there were more than a dozen wounds on his body from the bites of vicious dogs and shurikens. His clothes were also burned by the flames, and his whole body was covered in blood and scorch marks. Damn it, I was too careless. As expected, you don't have any powerful offensive escape techniques. As expected of Kakashi, to be able to see my weakness in such a short time. Hiru panted heavily. It's true that I didn't have the time to equip it with an offensive Kekkei Genkai. But if you think that the Onigiri technique I've carefully developed is only at this level, then you're sorely mistaken. Spirit communication technique. At the next moment, the tortoise, eagle, and tiger spiritual beasts were summoned. What are you doing? While the two of them were confused, they were shocked to find that the three spiritual beasts were howling in pain and fusing with Hiru. Then, a monster with the shell of a tortoise, the wings of an eagle, and the fangs and claws of a tiger appeared in their sight. What kind of monster is this? Rin exclaimed. Although it's very abnormal, why is it inexplicably handsome? Parker muttered as he looked at Kakashi, imagining the image of a 9-headed hellhound. Kakashi's face darkened. Why are you looking at me like that? Compared to those geniuses, compared to those powerful species, we have too many flaws. Hiru's voice came from the mouth of the giant monster. The Onigiri technique is an ultimate ninjutsu that can make up for flaws and create perfect creatures. The current me has already surpassed Orochimaru and Tsunade's geniuses. Genius? You call this ugly monster a genius? Kakashi said disdainfully. Compared to a true genius like Garashi-senpai, someone like you will forever be a stone on the ground. You will never be able to see the starry sky realm in your lifetime. Idiot, it's your own vision that's too low. Only the Onigiri technique being looked down upon is something he absolutely can't accept. Do you think the Onigiri technique is just a simple transplant of Kekkei geniuses? When I gather 5 Kekkei geniuses and satisfy the relationship of the 5 elements in my body, I will become the most perfect ninja, and you will be a part of this great achievement. After saying that, the giant monster clawed down. Just the strength of the body made a sharp whistling sound as it tore through the air. Quickly dodge, Kakashi ordered while jumping on top of the monster's head. After the fusion, will the monster retain the 2 Kekkei geniuses? Thinking of this, Kakashi used Chidori to chop down. However, when the chop hit the monster's body, it instantly stopped. This guy is really a monster, Kakashi whispered. Lightning flashed under his feet, causing him to jump out of the way. In the next moment, the place where he originally stood was quickly filled with lightning. Monster? You will soon become a monster too. The giant monster opened its wings, and the wings with a black metallic luster slashed through the air like steel blades. Using steel style to increase the strength of its body, Kakashi hurriedly moved to dodge. If he was hit by the steel wings, his ending wouldn't be good. Sure enough, the monster wreaked havoc in the forest, and the huge tree that required 2 people to hug tightly was cut down by the steel wings. Parker asked gloomily, Kakashi, what do we do now? We can't deal with such a large summoned beast. Kakashi was silent for a moment. The 2 of you are responsible for protecting Lin. I will think of a way to deal with the rest. To deal with such a large summoned beast, other than using a large summoned beast to deal with it, only a large-scale ninjutsu, or a ninjutsu with strong penetrative power would be effective. His Chidori fits the requirements, but this monster has the ability to absorb chakra, making it difficult to deal with. If it's senior, what would he do? Kakashi thought in his heart. Summoning technique, monstrous strength, immortal technique, illusion technique. Thinking of this, Kakashi felt helpless. Senior has many ways to defeat this monster, but he can't do any of them. If I have to say, is it possible to use illusion technique? He himself is not good at illusion technique, but doesn't he have the Sharingan? Kakashi stood in front of Hiriko. The 2 tomo in his eyes were spinning rapidly, and he muttered, You are a dog, you are a dog. Hiriko silently looked at the fool in front of him and slapped him. Chapter 253. Sure enough, it's still not working. Kakashi performed a somersault to get out of the attack range and sighed. Seems like I can only try to stall him and wait for Senpai to finish him off. Hiriko, on the other hand, was anxious. Didn't he run out of chakra? How can he still fight? In the beginning, he didn't care about the existence of Namikaze Minato and Shimizu Shushi, because he was sure that Kakashi didn't have the flying thunder god technique. Even if they were discovered, the time they took to arrive was enough for him to take Kakashi away. However, the failure of the puppet jutsu has led everything to an unknown direction. There's no other way, I'll have to use some other methods. Hirako sighed, gave up on Kakashi and rushed towards Rin's location. So you really want to use me as a breakthrough point? Rin didn't panic. She's faced a lot of dangers in the war, and she's been in similar situations many times before. A medical ninja's priority is to protect themselves, not to cause trouble for their companions. Rin recalled the rules, and quickly jumped to the trees around her. You're not slow. Hirako roared and swung his claws to break a tree trunk. The moment the tree tilted and fell, Lin leaped to another tree, as if she had been prepared for it. Hirako didn't care, no matter how agile the opponent was. A single failure would mean a total loss. As for him, he only needed to succeed once. Seeing Hirako crazily swinging his claws at the trees around him, Kakashi hurriedly formed hand seals. Earth release, swamp of the underworld. The thick ground suddenly turned into a swamp. Hirako accidentally fell in. But he quickly flapped his wings and escaped from the swamp. Seeing Hirako fly to the sky, Rin quickly jumped down from the tree. If Hirako was below, she would be above. If Hirako was above, she would be below. In short, she needed to avoid the enemy's space. What a slippery little loach, Hirako sighed. But don't think you can avoid me like this. The monster flapped his wings and shot out feathers like arrows. Just as Lin and Kakashi were about to dodge, the feathers suddenly exploded. The shockwave from the explosion caught the two of them off guard and sent them flying. Now, Hirako seized the opportunity to dive down, and while he was descending, he didn't forget to flap his wings to blow away the smoke, so that Kakashi could see his movements clearly. Damn it, this damn bastard. Although he knew it was a trap, Kakashi still rushed forward without hesitation. However, someone was even faster than him. A white streak of light streaked across the sky and crashed into the monster at a speed faster than the speed of sound. Immortal technique, meteorite bone fist. Like a meteor, the monster's huge body was sent flying by the punch. It slid on the ground and broke countless trees and rocks before coming to a stop. Looking at the ravaged forest, Parker widened his eyes and screamed, "Woof, what kind of monster-level power is this?" Kakashi first heaved a sigh of relief, then said in shock, "As expected of Senior, you're really too strong." Lin looked at the figure in front of her and waved her arms excitedly. "That's great. Senior is finally here." On the collapsed ground, Hirako struggled to stand up, his big eyes full of shock. What kind of joke is this kind of power? Steel release can only block physical attacks like slashes and collisions, but it can't do anything about the vibrations caused by these attacks. At the very least, Hirako's internal organs were ruptured by this punch. This is a true genius, one that's even stronger than Orochimaru and Tsunade? Hirako couldn't help but be deeply puzzled. Even if he gathered all 5 Kekkei Genkai, could he really defeat this unimaginable monster? Although Garashi already had his suspicions, he still pretended to be puzzled and asked, "Kakashi, what's going on?" "Senpai, this monster is Hirako," Kakashi hurriedly answered. He used a technique called Onigiri to fuse the bodies of 3 summoned beasts. "This is Hirako?" Seeing Garashi's sharp and powerful gaze, Hirako didn't have time to think. He coughed up blood and fled in a sorry state. But before he could get far, he was stopped by an invisible wall of fire. "Damn it, what's going on?" Hirako shouted. "This is the power of a barrier." Garashi's calm voice came from behind him. "Stop, you have nowhere to run." "Barrier?" The giant monster shook his head, his voice full of anger. "So this is really a trap for me? If you had run away as soon as you discovered that the puppet spell was no longer effective, you might have been able to escape." Garashi slowly walked over and looked up at the giant monster. "But now it's too late. Damn it. My great research hasn't been completed yet. How can I fall in a place like this?" Hirako roared madly and swung his claws at the barrier. And then the barrier broke. Seeing this, the people who set up the barrier in the 4 directions of the forest couldn't believe it. "How is this possible? Even if it's Rinstone, he can't break our barrier with a single blow." Hiroko was overjoyed. Sure enough, even a barrier can't stop the power of nether release. At this time, Kakashi loudly reminded him from afar. Senpai, he implanted himself with nether release that can absorb chakra, as well as steel release that can resist physical attacks. It's too late to know that now. Hiroko laughed loudly. Without the barrier, you can't stop me who can fly. You seem to be celebrating too early. Garashi's eyes were calm as he calmly formed hand seals. Illusion, confusion. A moment later, Hiroko's eyes became dull. Dispel the ghost Gara Jetsu. Hearing Garashi's order, Hiroko didn't hesitate to dispel the Jetsu. Following that, the three summoned beasts separated from his body. An ugly monster that was wrapped in bandages and looked like a ghost baby appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Lin exclaimed, "How did he become like this?" Kakashi's expression was serious. Perhaps this is his original appearance, because the ghost Gara Jetsu transformed him into this half-human half-ghost form. Hiroko, who lost his wings, fell to the ground and woke up in pain. What's going on? Where's my big pair of wings? After waking up, Hiroko panicked, then gradually recalled what happened before. You used an illusion to control me? Absorbing chakra's nether release and steel release that can resist physical attacks. It seems like you're still missing a Kekii Genkai that can resist illusions. Garashi chuckled lightly. Damn it, if I could get the Sharingan, I wouldn't be afraid of your illusions anymore. Hiroko unwillingly roared. Kakashi had a strange expression. With the Sharingan, you won't be afraid of Senpai's illusions? Shunny and Senpai had something to say about this. At this time, Asma's group of 4 came over. Garashi, what do we do now? Do we bring him back? Garashi nodded. Bring him back to the village. But before he could finish, Hiroko looked at him and shouted excitedly, Kill me! Chapter 254. Hearing Hiroko's roar, everyone was dumbfounded. What's wrong with this guy? Garashi also asked in confusion. Kill you? Dying in your hands is better than being laughed at by those mediocre people when I go back. And Hiroko's eyes were filled with madness. I don't want to let the Kajira Jutsu disappear like this. Garashi frowned. What do you mean? Take away my Kekii Genkai and Kajira Jutsu. Hiroko stared at Garashi. I know that with your medical ninjutsu, you can definitely do it. Kakashi and the others couldn't believe what they were hearing. What the hell is this guy trying to do? Giving away his Kekii Genkai and his research results to the enemy? Asma cautiously reminded. Garashi, be careful of this guy's trap. Kurenai nodded. This guy definitely doesn't have any good intentions. Idiot. How can mediocre people like you understand? Hiroko shouted excitedly. I have been researching for decades and finally came up with this great result. The only thing I absolutely don't want to give up is the Kajira Jutsu. Because this is the only proof that I can leave behind in this world. Everyone was taken aback by the excitement in Hiroko's voice. Hiroko didn't pay any attention to them, and just stared at Shushi with burning eyes. With your great talent, coupled with the combination of dark release, steel release and Sharingan, not to mention the Kage of the various villages, even reaching the height of the first Hokage is not impossible. Listening to what he said, everyone's mind was also filled with excitement. Indeed, nether release and steel release are very powerful Kekii Genkai. If they can obtain these two powers, even an ordinary ninja can become very strong, let alone Garashi. Moreover, these two Kekii Genkai are just the lower limit. Transplanting more Kekii Genkai can undoubtedly make one stronger. However, looking at Hiroko's appearance, they couldn't help but feel a little scared. The price of this power seems to be a bit too high. If it was an ordinary person, they may choose to gamble on strength. But they are all geniuses, and their desire for strength is not that great. Especially for Garashi, isn't improving strength as simple as eating and drinking for him? Under the expectant eyes of Hiroko and the worried eyes of Kurenai and Shizen, Garashi shook his head slightly. Sorry, I refuse. Hiroko was taken aback and shouted anxiously. Why? If you feel that my performance is not satisfactory, then it's because the Kajira Jutsu is not complete. Before I gather all 5 bloodline inheritances, the Gue Yula art is just a simple method of transplanting bloodlines, and fusing with spiritual beasts. Saying that Hiriko's voice, K's, once you complete Kekkei Genkai's body and meet the conditions use, he might even become the legendary sixth Tao immortal. Looking at Hiriko's expectant eyes, Shushi shook his head. Compared to external forces, I believe in my own strength. If it's really like what Hiriko said, he may be interested in giving it a try. However, even the average Otsutsuki can't achieve an immortal body, and collecting 5 Kekkei Genkai can't produce a power that surpasses Otsutsuki's? Of course, if you say that collecting 5 Kekkei Genkai can produce a qualitative change, then Kurenai is more convinced. After all, Kekkei Genkai is the fusion of the 7 attributes of chakra. Thinking about it this way, the idea of Kujira Jutsu may be able to give him some inspiration, but he can't do it himself. Therefore, he still needed someone who was willing to be a guinea pig for his experiments. Thinking of this, Garashi said in a deep voice, "Moreover, it's just 5 Kekkei Genkai. I can develop it myself. Why should I plunder and transplant other people's Kekkei Genkai?" Hiriko's eyes widened. He was shocked speechless by Garashi's aura. A mere 5 Kekkei Genkai. Is this something a human can say? However, when he thought of the other party's achievements, he was speechless again. This guy's talent is simply too terrifying. For geniuses like Orochimaru and Tsunade, he still has the confidence to catch up with them by relying on technology. But facing this boy in front of him, for the first time, he felt the powerlessness of science. Seeing Hiriko's look of shock, Garashi sighed and said, "Although the development of Kujira Jutsu is stained with evil, there is no distinction between good and evil. I will find a suitable successor for you to pass down this jutsu." Hiriko nodded repeatedly, then looked at Asuma and the others with expectant eyes. "Do any of you want my Kujira Jutsu?" Kurenai said with a look of disgust. "No." Asuma chuckled. "If I become like you, I'll definitely be beaten to death by the old man, because I can't have any descendants." Every time he refused, Hiriko's head sank a bit, and in the end, even he began to doubt himself. Is my Kujira Jutsu that bad? It's clearly my masterpiece that transcends time. At this time, a cold voice suddenly sounded. "Give it to me." Hiriko suddenly raised his head and looked in the direction of the voice, as if he was saved. Everyone also looked at Mizuki with surprise. "Mizuki, what are you doing? Have you really thought about it?" Mizuki said in a cold voice. "You are all geniuses, but I'm not the same. I'm a mediocre ninja like him, and I only got to where I am today by luck. So, I won't let go of any opportunity to improve my strength." "Luck?" Garashi shook his head slightly and looked at Mizuki with an encouraging look. "Sage mode is not something you can learn by luck. Don't underestimate yourself. You got to where you are today because of your own efforts." "No, I got to where I am today because of your help, Garashi." Mizuki was secretly grateful, but he said, "Garashi, I will have to trouble you to perform surgery on me again." Everyone thought he was talking about the time when Garashi treated him when he was a child, but Garashi understood that this again was referring to the time when he transplanted Hashirama's cells. "Don't worry, there won't be a problem." Seeing Mizuki's determination, Asuma was suddenly awakened. He is a genius in everyone's eyes. He is Naruto's father. He has an unimaginable opportunity. He was surpassed by Garashi, after all. He is a monster beyond common sense. But now even Mizuki is catching up with him. No, after transplanting his Kekkei Genkai, Mizuki should have surpassed him. Thinking of this, Asuma secretly clenched his fists. After going back, I will seriously consult my old man. I must not fall behind them. Hiriko was relieved and looked at Mizuki with an excited look. "Very good. You will not regret the choice you made today." Seeing Hiriko's reaction, everyone was shocked. He is obviously going to die, and even his Kekkei Genkai is about to be taken away. But not only is he not afraid, he is happy about it. In a sense, this guy is also a very pure ninja. Chapter 255. That night, along with the painful growls, everyone's mood fluctuated. Finally, when the sound returned to normal, under everyone's expectant eyes, Mizuki came out of the temporary medical tent. Asuma ran up and looked at him from head to toe. Huh? Why do I feel that you didn't become ugly? Is it because you were already ugly, so the change wasn't obvious? Mizuki squinted his eyes. Idiot. He's just an ordinary ninja, of course. The effect of the surgery can't be compared to Garashi. Asuma was dumbfounded. In other words, Hiriko's appearance is completely due to his own mess, and the Onajirai Jutsu doesn't have any ugly side effects. Maybe. Oh, what a loss. If you really want to transform, while the war is still going on, catch a few enemy Kekkei Genkai, and ask Garashi to transform you. But don't blame me for not reminding you. If you don't persist, I can't guarantee what will happen to you. Mizuki said with a hint of fear in his eyes. Perhaps it's because he has already transplanted the Mokuton Genkai. The rejection of these two Kekkei Genkai was extremely strong. At that time, his body almost collapsed, and even with his endurance, he couldn't help but scream in pain. Recalling Mizuki's scream before, Asuma suddenly stopped. He knows Mizuki's perseverance, and even Mizuki almost couldn't persist, so his success rate shouldn't be too high. Indeed, this time I was a bit reckless. Garashi came out a few steps behind Mizuki, and said with a heavy voice. The rejection of one Kekkei Genkai is still within the acceptable range, but transplanting two Kekkei Genkai at the same time will put a great burden on the body. And if you're not careful, your genes will collapse, and you will become like Hiriko. Even for Mizuki, I only dared to let him try it, because he has Sage Mode. Kakashi touched his left eye and said sympathetically, According to Senpai, my eye is a perfect fit, but even so, it has a defect that it can't be closed. It can be seen that there is considerable risk in any kind of blood transplants. Haha, then I'll pass. Asuma laughed twice and quickly changed the topic. By the way, Mizuki, how do you feel now? Can you use those two Kekkei Genkai normally? Very good. Shueimu lowered his head and looked at his hands. His eyes were filled with amazement. This feeling of power is really intoxicating. He had been oppressed for too long. He had mastered a powerful bloodline like the wood release, but he didn't dare to use it because of his misgivings. He had mastered a powerful ability like the immortal mode, but it also had the drawbacks of a long activation time and a short duration. It was difficult to use it in battle. Now he finally had a powerful strength that could match him. Although they were all bloodline inheritances that were easy to beat up, at least they could buy him some time to activate Sage Mode. Although the blood lineage is very powerful, don't rely too much on these two abilities. Garashi warned seriously. After all, Dark Release and Steel Release are not passive. If the enemy's attack is faster than your ninjutsu, these two Kekkei Genkai won't work. Hearing Garashi's warning, Shueimu calmed down from his excitement. Indeed, wasn't Hiriko himself the best proof? Encountering an unreasonable expert like Garashi, no matter how unsolvable the ability was, it could still be broken by brute force. His own strength was the most important thing. Shueimu nodded solemnly. I know. With my current strength, I still have a long way to go before I can help you, Garashi. Asuma's tone was a little sour. You've improved a lot this time. With these two Kekkei Genkai, most jonins won't be your opponent. It's not as exaggerated as you say. Shueimu was very sober and said calmly, At most, I'm on par with the enemy. They can't do anything to me, and I can't do anything to them. Shizen nodded thoughtfully. That's true. After all, you need some time to activate Sage Mode. And if the enemy finds that they can't do anything to you, they won't be stupid enough to stay there and wait for you to use your big move. Kurenai smiled with her hands behind her back. It's already very good. At least our team has a character like you who specializes in attracting firepower. It will be much easier for us to do missions. Shueimu's face turned black. The ability he obtained through suffering and torture wasn't for the sake of taking a beating. Kakashi said from the side, You now have two Kekkei Genkai. To reach the final form mentioned by Hiriko, you still need 3 more. You must hurry up. If you miss this battle, it will be difficult to capture enemy Kekkei Genkai again. Hearing Kakashi's words, everyone didn't show any strange expressions. Just like Kirin's transplanting of Byakugan, it's very reasonable to obtain spoils of war on the battlefield. Hiroko was wanted mostly because he attacked a ninja from the same village as him. It should be 3. Shueimu muttered to himself, then calmly said, "To reach the final form, you need to meet the 3 conditions mentioned by Hiroko. Heaven, Earth and Man is the limit of the 5 Kekkei Genkai. Earth is Mount Sumeru, and sky is the celestial phenomenon of the golden ring solar eclipse. Although there are 2 to 5 solar eclipses per year, if you want to observe one from Mount Sumeru, the cycle will be very long. The next one will be more than 10 years later." "More than 10 years?" Rin exclaimed. "Will it take that long?" Shueimu nodded. "It's precisely because there's still a long time before the ceremony that Hiroko didn't capture Kakashi the first time, but intended to use him as a vessel to nourish the Sharingan. But this is also good. If there's enough time, we can slowly choose a suitable Kekkei Genkai." Kurenai nodded slightly. "A suitable Kekkei Genkai." Asuma rubbed his chin. "If it's the old man, he will most likely choose Sekai Genkai." Sekai Genkai. Rin's expression was a little puzzled. Although the ability to become invisible is indeed powerful, but for someone of Naruto-sama's level, shouldn't it be easy to perceive the existence of the enemy? Asuma winked. "It's too wasteful to use Sekai Genkai in combat." "For reconnaissance?" Rin tilted her head. "But does Naruto-sama need to?" Seeing that Rin wanted to ask more, Kakashi coughed twice. "Let's stop here, it's getting late. Everyone should go back and rest early." With that said, he glared fiercely at Asuma. Asuma knew that he was in the wrong, so he scratched his nose and smiled. "Haha, I'm a little tired." "Huh, I haven't finished asking yet." Rin muttered in a low voice, and everyone set up their tents and prepared to go to sleep. Garashi walked towards the tent where he performed the surgery. "You guys go to sleep first. I'll find a place to bury Hiroko." Everyone wasn't worried. With Garashi's strength, it's impossible for him to encounter any danger. If he really encounters an enemy, it's the enemy who will be in danger. Chapter 256. In the depths of the forest, there were only a few scattered stars, and it was eerily quiet. But for the dead, this kind of environment could actually prevent them from being disturbed. After burying Hiroko, Garashi activated his perception barrier and unsealed the Shinigami's mask from the scroll he carried with him. His right hand brushed the mask, and a soulless spirit floated out of it. The reason he left the tent a few steps behind Mizuki was to collect Hiroko's soul. After all, Hiroko was a rare scientific talent in the ninja world. It would be a pity if he died just like that. Hiroko, who had just recovered from the dead, didn't understand the situation and asked in confusion, "Is this the underworld?" "Sorry to disappoint you, but this is still the modern world." A gentle voice came from the side, waking Hiroko up from his stupor. Turning around, Hiroko exclaimed in disbelief, "Why are you here?" Garashi smiled gently. "What's the matter, surprised to see me?" "I just didn't expect." Hiroko squeezed out an ugly smile. The light of the wood leaf, who is said to be the embodiment of all beautiful words, would actually play with other people's souls. Garashi shook his head lightly. "I have no interest in playing with your soul. If I have to say, I should be fulfilling your wish." "Fulfilling my wish?" Hiroko's soul trembled as he looked at Garashi with excitement. "You are willing to let me continue the experiment of the Onigiri Jetsu?" Looking at Hiroko's excited expression, Garashi felt a little embarrassed. It's one thing to squeeze out all the value of others when they were alive, but now he's not even letting them go after death. Even the capitalists in his previous life were kinder than him. However, for Hiroko, this should be considered a blessing, right? Thinking of this, Garashi felt at ease. "I do want to borrow your ability, but in my opinion, your Onigiri Jutsu is not a success." Being criticized by a layman, Hiroko was furious, and he didn't care about the situation he was in. "What do you know? The Onigiri Jutsu is an ultimate ninjutsu that can transform an ordinary ninja into a perfect form." Garashi was not angry and calmly discussed, "What is real perfection? Have you seen a real perfect ninja?" Hiroko was suddenly speechless and said with some dissatisfaction, "Have you ever seen a real perfect ninja?" Garashi spread out his hands and said innocently, "I didn't say that I can transform into a perfect ninja. Hiroko was speechless. After a moment of silence, he said with some doubt mixed in his longing, "Immortal, able to learn all ninjutsu should be the perfect ninja, right?" Garashi continued to bicker. "Then what makes you think that the onigiri technique can grant immortality?" "Alright, that's just my guess." The corner of Hiroko's eyes twitched, and he reluctantly admitted that he was suspected of false propaganda. But he still insisted. "But this conjecture is not without basis. Every ninja knows that chakra is the combination of physical and spiritual energy, and the complete exhaustion of chakra means death. So what if one absorbs chakra from nature and reverts chakra into physical and spiritual energy?" Garashi asked with great interest. "Does it mean that one's vitality can also be replenished?" Hiroko nodded excitedly. "Infinite vitality means that no matter what kind of fatal injury one receives, one can instantly recover. It's hard to say whether it will extend one's life, but it can definitely achieve the immortal body I mentioned before." Garashi nodded thoughtfully. "But what does this have to do with your onigiri technique?" Hiroko proudly said, "To achieve the immortal body, there are two requirements. One is to absorb chakra from nature, and the second is to revert chakra back to its original state, both of which require one to comprehend the essence of chakra, and the onigiri technique is to establish the relationship between the 5 elements in the body, and then comprehend the truth of all things." Seeing that Garashi seemed to be shocked by his words, Hiroko nodded with satisfaction, and then explained, "In fact, this is similar to the principle of Kekei Genkai and Kekei Genkai elimination, both of which are integrated with chakra, but they are completely superior to the other two, because it contains the complete power of the 5 elements." Hiroko looked at Garashi proudly, waiting for the other party to be shocked, but what greeted him was a slightly disappointed sigh. "Only the 5 elements, no yin and yang?" Hiroko frowned. "Are you kidding me? Yin and yang are completely different attributes from the 5 elements. How can this be?" Looking at the forest blooming in Garashi's palm, Hiroko muttered to himself in a daze. "Would release? No, I can feel it more clearly in my soul form. The power contained in it is clearly the yang attribute of chakra, right? This is incredible. It's simply incomprehensible." Hiroko muttered to himself, then looked at Garashi with a feverish gaze. "How did you do it?" The forest in Garashi's palm quickly went through a cycle of life and death, then dissipated into the wind. "This is the result of my research on the yin-yang release. You don't have to pay too much attention to it. I'm just showing you the correct path." It had to be said that Blackie's body was truly mysterious. In the past year, although he hadn't made any progress in the development of the yin-yang release, his understanding of the yin and yang releases had reached an extremely high level. The result of his research on the yin release was reflected in the Shinigami's mask, while the result of his research on the yang release was the advancement of the wood release, false, to the wood release, true stage. Of course, this was also thanks to his proficiency in the yin and yang releases, the correct path. Hiroko wasn't disappointed. Instead, he was very excited. "I really died for the right reason. If I didn't die, how could I come in contact with the truth of this world?" Garashi nodded slightly. "I told you this is a blessing. Since you didn't consider the fusion of the yin release, why did you take the Sharingan?" Hiroko was silent for a moment. The Kekei Genkai of the 5 elements are the fusion of the 2 chakra attributes. Meeting the conditions of the 5 elements, it's reasonable to say that you only need 3 Kekei Genkai. I took the Sharingan more for the final ritual. The final ritual is too important. I have to carefully control each chakra in order to succeed. And to do this, I need to rely on the observation power of the Sharingan. Is that so? I understand. After a pause, Garashi asked again, "What is the principle of the 3 conditions of the ritual?" "Completing the ritual requires a lot of chakra. The only thing I can think of is to use the power of nature," Hiroko explained. "According to my observation, the solar eclipse seems to be the time when chakra is the most active in nature. As for Mount Sumeru, it's also the place with the highest concentration of chakra I can find." "Chakra is the most active?" Garashi secretly thought. "The moon is the product of the Rikudu Senin seal on Kagaya. Will the seal weaken during the solar eclipse?" Hiroko didn't know what Garashi was thinking. Seeing that Garashi didn't speak, he continued. The 5 elements Kekkei Genkai are easy to deal with, but the Yin release Kekkei Genkai is the dojutsu, and the Yang release Kekkei Genkai is the physique. It's been a long time since the shinobi world has seen a physique Kekkei Genkai that represents the Yang release. You don't have to worry about this. I will temporarily seal you and release you when the time is right, Garashi said in a deep voice. I understand. With that said, Hirako took a deep look at Garashi, mastering the knowledge and mysteries beyond the shinobi world, and even taking people like me under your banner. What do you want to do? Garashi smiled slightly. Is this important? Hirako was stunned for a moment, but he immediately smiled. Indeed, it's not important, as long as I can continue my research, and let me see the complete form of the ghost germinal jutsu with my own eyes. What do you want to do with me? It's easy to deal with smart people. Garashi shrugged. However, there is one thing I want to remind you. In order to keep this secret, I will change your identity and part of your memory. From now on, you will appear in this world with a new identity. A new identity? Hirako said calmly. The name and appearance are nothing but a subsidiary product of oneself. As long as you follow your heart, it doesn't matter. Chapter 257. It has been 2 months since the operation to capture Hirako, and this operation didn't cause the slightest ripple. Most of the Woodleaf villagers didn't even know that such a rebellious Nin was captured and killed. After all, Hirako wasn't famous to begin with, and their operation was carried out in secret. After Sandame learned of the matter, he sighed and said, "What a pity." Eastern Camp. 2 figures passed by each other, making the sound of kunai colliding. One of them stopped, and lightning burst out of his palm. Be careful, I'm going to use Chidori. Under the activation of lightning release chakra, Kakashi rushed towards the opponent as fast as lightning. Come on, I won't lose to a pirated Uchiha like you. On the other side, the 3 Tomo in his Sharingan rotated rapidly, and as if the time around him had slowed down, he dodged the lightning at the last moment. Kakashi stopped and shook his wrist. I'm not going to fight anymore, my chakra is almost used up. Shunyan complained helplessly. You are too shameless, I was just about to fight back. Having said that, he closed his Sharingan obediently. Seeing that the 2 had stopped fighting, the onlookers gathered around. Kakashi, you can't last too long. Guy patted Kakashi's shoulder with a concerned look on his face. Starting tomorrow, let's do handstand exercises together. I really should strengthen my training, but... Kakashi squinted his eyes. It's too embarrassing to train with you. Lose face? Guy took 2 steps back and looked at Kakashi excitedly. It's obviously a beautiful scenery. When I go out to train, even the enemy praises me as a weirdo. Black lines appeared on Kakashi's forehead. Are you sure this is a compliment? Asuma was amazed. The improvement of the 3 Tomo is so great? Even Kakashi's Chidori can be dodged. Shunyan touched his eyes with a sad look. If I could, I would rather not have this improvement. Kakashi also had a sad look on his face. Yes. If I could, I would rather not complete the Chidori Jutsu. The corner of Asuma's mouth twitched slightly. He hadn't even mentioned the bordered soil. So how did he get into trouble? Seeing Lin's unfriendly gaze, Asuma hurriedly changed the topic. Senior Shunyan, can the 3 Tomo Jade clearly see Garashi's movements? I can barely see Garashi's movements, but... Shunyan shook his head slightly. It's useless even if my body can't keep up. If it were Guy using his Sharingan, it would be better. Guy, who was nagging and harassing Kakashi, was startled and looked at Shunyan in shock. Shunyan-senpai, don't curse yourself. Shunyan's face darkened. He was just saying it casually, and you're still hung up on it? Just as he was about to use Genjutsu to talk to Guy, a Chunin ran over. Jonin Garashi, Orochimaru, Sama asked you to go to the conference room. There is an emergency. Emergency? What emergency can there be now? Guy looked puzzled. It can't be that the other villages have joined forces again, right? Garashi also had some doubts, but he didn't let the visitor wait for a long time. Sorry to trouble you, I'll go now. In the conference room, among the 4 giants of the Eastern Front, Garashi was the last to arrive. Come on, something big really happened. Jiraiya waved with a gossipy face. Sorry I'm late. Garashi stepped forward and sat down. What the hell is going on? Orochimaru clenched his hands. Simply put, Reikage died. Minato, who like Garashi hadn't eaten the melon, was shocked. How is that possible? With Reikage's strength, even if we join forces, it would be difficult to kill him, right? If Reikage wants to escape, of course, no one can kill him. Orochimaru shook his head and sighed. But what if he doesn't retreat? Fight to the death. Garashi pondered over the meaning of the words and asked tentatively. Did Rock Crypsis finally make a move? Orochimaru nodded. Inoki is really old. Either he doesn't make a move, or he goes straight for Yunin's vital point. Minato was puzzled. Yunin's vital point? Jiraiya laughed and explained. Of course it's the loot. Yunin's bandits have always been robbing things like mice in winter. I don't know how much they have secretly accumulated. This time, they were almost wiped out by Rock Crypsis. Mice in winter? Garashi couldn't help but smile. This metaphor was quite vivid. Did Reikage fight with Rock Crypsis for some loot? Minato still couldn't believe that Reikage, who had the strongest defense, was killed for such a reason. Jiraiya stroked his chin. Not all. In addition to the loot, he also had to cover the retreat of other Yunin's ninjas. After all, the enemy was an army of 10,000 people. Garashi was shocked. An army of 10,000 people? Orochimaru nodded. I have to say that old guy is really powerful. He dragged out thousands of Rock Crypsis' ninjas before dying of exhaustion. Jiraiya sighed. This is also Inoki's mistake. If he was here, Reikage wouldn't have dared to fight with 10,000 people. In this regard, Reikage should thank Garashi. Orochimaru laughed. Without a leg, even Inoki's courage is a lot smaller. It's not so much that he's timid but more cautious. Garashi sighed. After all, the younger generation of Rock Crypsis is lacking, and Kitsuchi's arm was broken by me. He has to hold on until someone can take over the Rock Crypsis. That's true. Jiraiya sighed. Speaking of which, the third Kazekage disappeared before the war began. The third Tsuchikage was crippled by Garashi, and the third Reikage died on the battlefield. Among the Kages of the villages, only the old man and the third Mizukage are still strong. Speaking of this, several people's expressions became strange. Compared with the other Kages, Naruto, Sama is not only strong, but also relaxed. Realizing that he seemed to be insinuating something, Jiraiya laughed twice and returned to the topic. Today, I called you here mainly to raise your vigilance. Although Reikage's death has nothing to do with us, it's not surprising that Yunin will do something crazy. Who knows if they will go crazy and drag us down with them? Orochimaru said in a deep voice. Indeed, we should be careful. Yunin is a fierce wolf. The closer we are to the end, the more we have to be careful of their counterattack before they die. Minato naturally supported his teacher. I understand. I will strengthen the patrol. Garashi nodded solemnly. I will ask everyone to be more careful. You don't have to be so serious. Jiraiya laughed. Yunin was originally fighting with Kirin, and now they were attacked by Rock Crypsis. As long as their Yondaime Sama's head wasn't caught by a door, it's unlikely that they will come to trouble us. Chapter 258. At the same time in Kirin's camp, all the Jonins were happy, and they were about to celebrate with drums and gongs. Haha, that bastard Reikage finally got what he deserved. He schemed against us, and now it's finally his turn to be schemed against. Rock Crypsis is not a good thing. The former Reikage died in their hands. The Mizukage was also in a good mood, and he almost couldn't hold back his crazy smile. Just as everyone was celebrating, a Jonin suddenly said, Mizukage-sama, what should we do next? Fight back against Yunin with Rock Crypsis? The Mizukage opened his eyes a little. What do you think? When it came to fighting back against Yunin, everyone suddenly discussed more. Of course we have to fight back. Yunin is a despicable bastard. I don't like them. We have suffered heavy losses in this war, and we must get compensation from Yunin. Of course, some of these voices were against it. Yunin's people are crazy. Our counterattack will only lead to their stronger revenge. It's no good. They can even sacrifice Reikage for some spoils of war. We can't take advantage of such a lunatic. Seeing someone say the point, the Mizukichi nodded secretly. He really didn't want to be entangled with Yunin anymore. The problem is that he has to be able to take advantage of it. When they were almost done arguing, the Mizukichi made a decision. Let's stop here. There's no need to provoke Yunin's group of crazy dogs. Although many people were unhappy, no one dared to openly oppose the Mizukichi order in the Blood Mist village. Yes, the Mizukichi slightly nodded, and then changed the topic. Yunin's matter is decided. Now let's talk about how to get back the ninja sword from Woodleaf. Many people were silent. With Woodleaf's current momentum, it's not easy to get back the ninja sword from them. At this time, the most active Jonin suggested, Mizukichi-sama, we might as well learn from Rock Crypsis in this regard. The Mizukichi was a little interested. How? The Jonin who made the suggestion licked his lips. I heard that the Rock Crypsis had a tough attitude. They used their life and death attitude to win Woodleaf's peace talks. We can also learn to be tough, and show that if they don't give us back our ninja swords, we will fight them to the death. The rest of the Jonins were shocked by his proposal. How can we fight Woodleaf with our current strength? Are you trying to kill us all? We're just pretending. The Jonin who made the suggestion waved his hand and said, we just want to let Woodleaf see our determination. The Mizukichi was a little moved. The Jonin who made the proposal struck while the iron was hot. In fact, this is the same reason why we don't want to deal with Cloud Village. They are all lunatics. Normal people will always stay away from such lunatics. So this time we should learn from them, and become lunatics. Become lunatics? The Mizukichi was faintly excited. What are you going to do? Catch a Woodleaf ninja, seal the Sambai in his body, seal this part of his memory, and then secretly put it back to Woodleaf. This is equivalent to placing a time bomb in Woodleaf that no one knows about. The Jonin who spoke had a flash of light in his eyes. Then we will threaten Woodleaf. If they don't return the ninja swords, we will detonate this bomb in their village. The Mizukichi was still hesitant. It won't really detonate, right? How can it be? Kirin, who was already in the form of black, laughed. As long as they promise to return the ninja swords, we will send someone to pull the Sambai out. A Jonin next to him asked weakly, but if we pull the Sambai out, the Woodleaf ninja will also die, right? Black Zetsu controlled the Mist Jonin and said, as long as it's not a particularly important person, he's dead. Do you think Konoha will turn against us because of one person? That's true. Then it's decided. The Mizukichi made a decision. Akashi, I will leave the specific matters of this task to you. Yes. One day later, the Mizukichi was quite surprised to see Akashi and the unconscious girl beside him. You decided on a good candidate so soon? Akashi nodded. While Woodleaf's attention is focused on the war between Yunin and Rock Crypsis, we can seize the time to act. That's true. The Mizukichi said. Did you bring the container to seal the Sambai? A Jonin cautiously came forward with the jar. Mizukichi-sama, please be careful. Well, you can put it down. The Jonin put the jar in front of the girl, and quickly retreated to the distance. It's about to start. The Mizukichi took a deep breath, and opened the lid of the jar. Woo! At the moment when the Sambai woke up, the Mizukichi quickly sealed it in the girl. The Sambai's strength was not weak, but after all, he just woke up and didn't understand the situation, so he was quickly sealed in the girl's body. This guy is really not honest. The Mizukichi exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Even for him, sealing the Sambai was not easy. Perhaps because the Sambai didn't want to be quiet. Rin frowned and woke up. Where am I? Where is Kakashi? For you this may be hell. Hearing Akashi's threat, the surrounding Jonins laughed. The name of the village of the blood fog will scare people to tears. Such a cute little girl must be beautiful when she cries. Hearing these voices, Rin's memory before her coma gradually recovered. Yes, I was caught by Kirin's ninja, but why did they? Suddenly, a powerful chakra riot in her body. What is this? The Mizukichi quickly printed and patted her on her body. The Sambai is not honest again. The restlessness in her body gradually subsided, but Rin didn't notice it. She suddenly looked up and asked in amazement. Sambai, The Mizukage laughed. Yes, you are now the Sambai's Jinchuriki. Why do you want me to be? Being able to master such an A-class ninjutsu as a chunin, Rin was of course not stupid. She quickly thought of a possibility. You want to make the tailed beast in my body go berserk and hurt the people in the village? Although there was some misunderstanding, the Mizukage didn't intend to explain more to her. Anyway, this little girl's memory must be sealed, Akashi said. Mizukage-sama, why don't you go back and rest first? I will seal the memory and then transport you. Sealing the Sambai was indeed a bit tiring, so the Mizukage didn't refuse. Then I will trouble you. Rin's face was pale, and she seemed to have made up her mind. While everyone's attention was on the Mizukage, she used the chakra scalpel to stab herself in the chest. However, when the knife reached 2 centimeters away from her chest, it couldn't go any further. How? Akashi laughed. Don't struggle. I have placed a curse seal on you so you can't hurt yourself. Rin bit her lower lip. She can't even kill herself? In order to prevent you from messing up the plan, I will temporarily forget this part of the memory. Seeing the Mizukage walking towards her step by step, Rin helplessly retreated. No, don't. Unfortunately, her struggle was in vain. Soon Rin fell asleep with dull eyes. This should be enough. As long as you are a little emotional, you can break the seal. Akashi smiled. Next, I will arrange the scene of the reunion of the 3 people you want to see the most. Chapter 259. Outside the Woodleaf camp, Kakashi was pacing back and forth with a complicated expression. Damn it! What the hell should I do now? A small team that had just returned from patrolling the outside world passed by and greeted him with a smile. Kakashi, why are you hiding here and not going in? Isn't Rin with you? Haha, you aren't going to the front line again, are you? Kakashi looked down at the note in the palm of his hand, as if he didn't hear her, and walked away without any response. Seeing this, a ninja in the team was dissatisfied. This guy is too arrogant, he doesn't even want to talk to us. The ninja next to him was also in a bad mood. Garashi, Sama is much more talented than him, but I don't see him like this. The third ninja in the team was calm. Forgive him, since the death of Bordered Soil, he hasn't been right. However, the other 2 didn't buy it. How can there be no deaths in war? He's a genius, but his heart isn't that strong. The few of them grumbled as they walked into the camp. After walking a long distance away from the camp, Kakashi looked around and saw that there was no one around, and then he opened the note again. As a punishment for killing our compatriots, come to the quiet forest alone at noon today. If you dare to inform others, your little girlfriend will die. After reading this paragraph, Kakashi felt that his chest was about to explode with anger. Damn it! Is it because I killed too many enemies in order to complete the agreed mission with the Uchiha clan? So I incurred this kind of revenge? But why is it Rin? Why didn't she directly attack me? Kakashi pulled his hair frantically, and his eyes were full of pain. No, I can't go and inform Senpai and Senpai. The enemy can secretly send the note to me. Maybe he is watching my every move from somewhere. If he finds out, Rin will die. I can't gamble with Rin's safety. But if I rush over like this, there is no point except to die. And the enemy will most likely not let Rin go. Damn it! What the hell should I do? Kakashi held his head with both hands. Calm down, there must be some way. Calm down, hurry up and get cold. Kakashi was forcing himself to calm down when he suddenly felt a chill in front of his chest. Right, the ice crystal pendant. Kakashi's eyes flashed with ecstasy. During the last operation to capture Hiriko, he didn't use the pendant, and had been carrying it with him all this time. After all, this was a life-saving opportunity, so he naturally wouldn't waste it. The ice crystal pendant hasn't been used yet, which means that the enemy doesn't know the effects of the pendant. As long as I break the pendant, Senior will definitely realize that something is wrong. The more Kakashi thought about it, the more he felt that it was feasible. But when he was about to act, he suddenly hesitated. No, I still can't. The ice crystal pendant can only let you know that something has happened here, but it can't tell you what it is. If you suddenly appear in front of me, and I don't have time to explain the situation, The enemy might already know that I used some method to inform the reinforcements. Kakashi rested his chin on his right hand and thought to himself, I have to let Senpai understand the seriousness of the matter before he arrives. In other words, I have to break the pendant after arriving at the agreed place. In this way, when Senpai arrives, he will know that Rin has been kidnapped. However, this also means that I have to hold on until Senpai arrives. Thinking of this, Kakashi felt that his heart was heavy. This is a trap deliberately set by the enemy, which shows that he is in an absolute disadvantage. In this case, it won't be easy to hold on until Senpai arrives. But I can only fight. Kakashi touched his left eye and remembered Obito's last words. I'll leave Rin to you. His eyes gradually became firm. Whether it's for Rin or for Obito, I must not fail. At the same time, Kirin's team of 50 people was moving forward carefully. A Jonin looked at the unconscious Rin on the stretcher and asked with some doubts. Akane, didn't Mizuki-sama say that we should secretly send her back? Wouldn't it be too conspicuous if we go with so many people? Hearing him mention it, several Jonins next to him also questioned in a low voice. Yes, Woodleaf has a barrier. If we are discovered by Woodleaf, wouldn't it be over? Akane smiled calmly. In fact, Mizuki-sama made some slight changes to the plan, but because of the urgency of time, he didn't hold a second meeting. Huh, what changed? Woodleaf has a lot of strong people. Even Naruto always stays in the village. It's not easy to secretly send someone back under their eyes. And it's difficult to explain why she suddenly appeared in Woodleaf. Therefore, after Mizuki-sama discovered the other identity of this little girl, he made some temporary changes to the plan. Everyone subconsciously looked at Rin. What identity? Is she Naruto's illegitimate daughter? Ahem, of course not. Akane's mouth twitched. These bastards have such a rich imagination. You should have heard of Hatake Kakashi. He killed a lot of Yunin, and are ninjas on the battlefield. And this little girl is his teammate. Several Jonins nodded with righteous indignation. I heard that the bastard was forced by the Uchiha clan to prove his value. And he killed a lot of our people on the battlefield. Damn, he dared to use our people to gain more points. But what does this have to do with the Senpai's plan? Akane calmly explained. Of course, it has something to do with it. Mizuki-sama used this little girl as an excuse to lure him out and seriously injure both of them. Then we pretended to be accidentally discovered by their reinforcements, leaving them behind in a hurry to escape. In this way, we have a reasonable explanation to let them go back to Woodleaf. Although they felt that it was a bit superfluous, everyone still praised him against their will. Mizuki-sama is really good, he thinks too far. Mizuki-sama is really reliable. Everyone be serious, don't let that guy see through your flaws. Akane chuckled softly. It's not easy, just act as yourself and beat that Kakashi to death. Everyone couldn't help but laugh out loud. Although they were a little unhappy that they couldn't really kill that guy. But beating that Kakashi until his mother can't recognize him, it can be regarded as revenge for their brothers. Seeing that they were all villains, Akane's mouth slightly raised, and subconsciously looked at Rin, who was still in a coma. Seeing Kakashi being tortured by them, the emotional fluctuations should be able to break through the incomplete seal I deliberately arranged. Everything here is ready, we just need to wait for the actors to appear one by one. Chapter 260. At the same time, the land of grass was on its way to the battlefield of Kirin. Kakashi Rin, you must hold on. Bordered Soil was wearing a white Zetsu battle suit, whispering anxiously. White Zetsu, who had turned into an exoskeleton, smiled. That's not easy. Since he merged with part of your body, Kakashi can't last very long. Bordered Soil's body stagnated, and he almost fell from the trees. Bastard, don't say things that can easily be misunderstood. But as he said, his heart became more and more impatient. White Zetsu fanned the flames in his ear. I heard that Kakashi was going to give up on Rin last time. Guess, will he give up on Rin again this time? Or even do something worse than this? No, absolutely not. Having said that, the uneasiness in Bordered Soil's heart became stronger. Especially the nightmare he had last time. The hellish scene lingered in his mind. Damn it! There's no time to think about it. Bordered Soil shook his head hard and accelerated forward. The silent forest. Where are you taking me? Rin's angry voice sounded in the forest. Oh, we're going to take you to the person you want to see the most. Akachi responded with a smile. The person I want to see the most. Rin's face was pale, and she quickly understood their purpose. You caught me to lure Kakashi out? Akachi gently clapped his hands. What a clever little girl. Lin bit her lower lip. Just give up. Kakashi won't come. Don't deny your value so easily. Akachi played with the kunai in his hand. Maybe there will be a surprise. The surprise you want is here. Accompanied by a calm and powerful voice, Kakashi's elongated figure came out of the forest. Kakashi, you. Rin didn't know how to describe her current emotions. She was moved, but also annoyed. Akashi smiled and said, Sure enough, Konoha's ninjas are very courageous. Kakashi didn't care about his teasing, and asked in a deep voice, I came as promised, can you let Rin go? Let her go. She shrugged. The creed only says that we will kill her if you don't come. But it doesn't seem to say that we will let her go if you come. The rest of the Kirin ninjas also laughed loudly. Haha, what an idiotic and childish brat. What do you take us for? The Bloodmist Village's ninjas never leave anyone alive. Despair, rage, and wail in the fear of death. Damn it, these bastards. Rin clenched her fists in pain and shouted at Kakashi. Don't worry about me, Run. I've already tasted the pain of losing a friend, so I definitely don't want to experience it again. Kakashi took out a shuriken from the tool bag on his waist and said firmly, Lin, wait for me. Tears welled up in Lin's eyes, and the tip of her nose tingled. Why did you do that? Or this is... Before he could finish his words, Akashi saw Kakashi throwing a shuriken at him at a very fast speed. Oh, childish temper. As he spoke, he placed his kunai in front of his chest. Ding! A shuriken bounced off the kunai and fell to the ground. But before he could be happy, the sound of blocking and screams from all directions made his face change. In the next moment, dozens of Kakashi swarmed out of the forest. Obviously, chakra is not enough, but he still dares to use Shadow Clone Jutsu. Should I say that he is confident or arrogant? Akashi whispered, and his face changed again. In his line of sight, every Shadow Clone used Chidori, and the speed of those Shadow Clones was so fast that they didn't look like ninjas. Damn it, how did this bastard do it? In an instant, more than a dozen Kirin ninjas were cut off by his Chidori, and flesh and blood flew everywhere, rendering the originally silent forest like a slaughterhouse. Fortunately, the ninjas who participated in this operation were at least Chunin, and even half of them were Jonin, and even under this level of surprise attack, they still preserved nearly 3/5 of their strength. However, these Jonin were also frightened by Kakashi's attack, and they all looked at the white-haired boy with horror. This strength, is he really a 12-year-old kid? Damn it! Could it be that he's another genius like Qingshui Stone? Why do geniuses always come from wood leaf? Fate favors them too much. Akashi squinted his eyes and looked at the panting Kakashi. So it turns out that opening the Hashiman Tonka squeezes out the chakra in the body? After all, I'm not a genius like Senpai. Opening the second gate in my spare time is the limit. Kakashi resisted the tiredness of his body, and his heart was extremely bitter. Kirin thinks too highly of me. They actually sent so many strong people at once. Don't be afraid, this bastard only has one round of outbreak, Akashi said with a grin. Now it's our turn to fight back. Hearing Akashi's explanation, the remaining Kirin ninjas looked ferocious. New hatred and old hatred, how can they not vent it? Go. Lin stood up, but before she could take 2 steps, her legs went soft and she fell to the ground, and black curse lines appeared on her body. How can we let you leave? A Kirin ninja rushed up with a kunai. Kakashi resisted the attack with his sore body. But then another Kirin ninja seized the opportunity and sent him flying. I have to be patient, it's not time yet. Kakashi stood up unsteadily, and before he could react, he was hit in the chest by a knee. Kakashi curled up his body and fell down like a roasted prawn. The surrounding Kirin ninjas looked at this scene with joy. Haha, aren't you a genius? Why did you fall down? Don't you want to save people? Get up quickly. Although we sacrificed a lot of our companions, it was worth it to kill a genius like you in advance. Watching Kakashi being kicked around on the ground by the enemy, Lin felt like her heart was being cut by a knife, and waves of pain and regret surged in her heart. Why? Why did it have to be like this? When the emotional fluctuations reached a threshold, a gate in her body seemed to be opened. Ah! Lin held her head and screamed in pain. The seal of her memory and body was broken. Hearing this incomparably miserable scream, the Kirin ninjas were shocked and subconsciously looked in the direction of Lin. Damn it! Lin drew their attention back again. Although he was annoyed, Kakashi was also worried about Lin's body, and decisively shouted, "Parker, do it!" Boom! A piece of the ground near Lin was overturned. 8 ninja dogs rushed out, and while the 2 Kirin ninjas guarding Lin were not paying attention, they snatched Lin away. Chapter 261. Seeing the hostages being taken away by the ninja dogs, everyone was shocked. What? This guy still has a backup plan? While they were in a daze, Kakashi, who didn't resist no matter how they beat him, quickly made a hand seal. Earth escape barrier, earth prison none. A huge hemispherical earth prison rose from the ground, trapping all the people who bullied him inside. Then, without any hesitation, he ran to Rin's side and jumped on the largest dog, Blue. Blue, let's go. Rin was also put on another large dog, and the two ran on the ground like dog riders. Blue reminded while running, "Kakashi, you forgot to carve the powerful, loyal, and handsome dog head." Kakashi's breath stagnated, and he smiled apologetically. "Sorry, I don't have enough chakra, next time. Rin barely woke up from her headache, and said in a hurried voice, "Kakashi, this is Kirin's conspiracy." Kakashi only thought that Rin was talking about the trap itself, and said with a smile, "I know, but we have escaped." "No, it's not like that." Rin was about to continue, but suddenly there was an explosion behind them. Kakashi turned around, and saw a group of Kirin ninjas all broke out of the seal. Damn, how can they be so fast? Kakashi's heart was in a mess for a while. All my chakra only bought me less than 10 seconds. At this time, Rin said with a complicated expression, "Kakashi, you should give up on me, I have no hope." Kakashi restrained his anxious expression and comforted her. "Don't worry, although it didn't buy much time. They only have 2 legs, they can't outrun Blue." Blue barked, "Even if you praise me, it doesn't change the fact that I'm a combat dog. My explosive power is good, but my endurance is far from enough." Kakashi said anxiously, "Hold on. If we can go back alive, I will ask Jiraiya-sama to write a book for you." "Write a book?" Brew perked up. But then he said suspiciously, "Although this is a good publicity method, I heard that Jiraiya's popularity is very low, and the content is not very healthy. What if people misunderstand that we are not decent dogs?" Kakashi tried to defend himself. "Who would read a book with healthy content? Believe me, you will become celebrity dogs." "Is that so?" Brew's face was filled with confusion. "Kakashi, don't make things difficult for it." Lin shook her head and said in a low voice, "I just broke the seal and finally remembered what they did to me." "Seal?" Kakashi's expression was solemn. "They sealed your memories before?" "Well, because..." Lin gently pressed her chest. "I am now a 3-tailed Jinchuriki." "Sanbai Jinchuriki? Why would they?" Kakashi's pupils suddenly shrank, and he asked incredulously, "Are they going to let you go on a rampage in the village?" "Yes." Lin nodded sadly. "Now you should know why I said there was no hope for me. When they sealed the 3-tailed Jinchuriki in my body, they already left a way to retrieve the tailed beast. Even if I escape this time, I will die because of the tailed beast. Instead of letting them continue to use the power of the tailed beast to threaten the safety of the village, it is better to kill me now. At least during the time when the tailed beast is resurrected, they will lose a powerful weapon." Kakashi couldn't believe it, and he didn't want to believe it. "No, there must be a way. By the way, I have already informed Senpai. Senpai can save you." Hearing Kakashi mention Senpai, Lin's eyes first lit up, and then dimmed. "It's too late, look behind you." Kakashi turned his head and found that the distance between them and the enemy had been shortened a lot. Damn, how can they be so fast? Bru's slightly apologetic voice sounded. Sorry, they have been throwing kunai and shurikens from behind, and our speed has been greatly affected. Do you see? Maybe in a minute, or even less than a minute, they will catch up, and then my memory will be sealed again. And then I will become a weapon in their hands to destroy the village. Lin roared in pain. Kakashi, do you want me to die without being able to forgive myself? Kakashi clenched his fist silently, and his fingertips almost pierced the flesh of his palms. It's too late, kill me. Lin looked at Kakashi with hopeful eyes. They set a curse on me that can't hurt me. Only you can stop me. Kakashi slowly raised his right hand. At this moment, he only felt that his arm was filled with lead, too heavy to lift. Hurry up, Lin urged loudly. At the same time, on the other side of the forest. Hurry up. White Zetsu also urged loudly. I want to be faster, but my body can't do it at all. Bordered Soil roared angrily. Let me control it. After all, you are using my body now. Bordered Soil was stunned and then moved. You are so kind. Not only against Madara's order to take me out, but now you are so nervous about my affairs. White Zetsu laughed twice. Haha, I always like to help others. After White Zetsu took control, Bordered Soil's speed was much faster. Before long, Bordered Soil heard the sound of the ground shaking in front of him. There are a lot of people, it must be in front of us. Bordered Soil whispered excitedly, through the forest, and then saw a scene that made his blood freeze. Kakashi's right hand passed through Lin's chest, and the bright red blood looked unusually dazzling. It's fake, it must be fake. Bordered Soil muttered to himself, and the Magatama in his right eye rotated rapidly. I'm sorry, Lin, I'm really sorry. Kakashi whispered, not aware that the Magatama in his left eye was rotating rapidly. At this time, Kakashi suddenly felt a chill from his arm. Looking up, he saw that the blow that had pierced through his chest had broken a certain pendant. By the way, Lin also has an ice crystal pendant. Kakashi was ecstatic, but the joy in his eyes quickly dissipated. Senpai said that this pendant can only make people fake death, but Lin is really dead, so what's the point of this fake death? The ups and downs between heaven and hell made the chakra in his brain surge wildly. The next moment, the Magatama in his left eye turned into a pinwheel. However, his body was in a state of limit, and under such continuous stimulation, he fainted directly. Hey, Kakashi, you! After Kakashi lost consciousness, Blue and the other 8 ninja dogs turned into smoke and returned to the different space. Then Kakashi and Lin's bodies fell to the ground. Chapter 262. This sudden change made the Kirin ninjas behind them dumbfounded. We didn't want to kill you. Why did you do it yourself? After the shock, it was followed by madness and irritation. If the Jinchuriki is dead, the Sambai will also die, right? Bastard. It will take many years for the tailed beast to be resurrected. Damn it. Not only did we fail to complete the task, but we also killed the Sambai. Akashi, what should we do now? Akashi didn't pay attention to them, but he stared at the Bordered Soil who suddenly appeared on the side of the forest. Looking at the big windmill in Obito's eyes, his heart was in turmoil, and he almost cried out in horror. In just 2 months, he actually completed the transformation from eyeless to 2 Tomo Sharingan. And from 2 Tomo Sharingan to Mangekyo, what kind of monster is this kid? If he didn't know that Madara was not dead, he would think that the reincarnation of Indra's chakra was the Bordered Soil. Seeing Akashi was silent, a group of Kirin ninjas followed his gaze, and then found a strange man wearing a one-eyed mask and a black robe. Who's there? No matter who it is, go to hell. They were full of grievances and had nowhere to vent, so when they saw Obito, they decided to vent their grievances on him. Several Kirin ninjas took out shurikens and shot at the Bordered Soil from a tricky angle. However, the Bordered Soil stood in the same place and muttered to himself. Fake, it must be fake. Whoosh. A few shurikens passed through his body as if they were hitting air. Seeing this, the Kirin ninjas were shocked. Is it an afterimage? No, he didn't move at all. Damn, Who is this bastard? They were surprised, and the bordered soil, who had been standing in the same place, suddenly raised his head. I don't admit it. I will never admit the world without Rin. After that, he seemed to awaken, from a shoddy chunin. He was directly strengthened to the point where he could kill any jonin. The dark Obito rushed into the crowd, as if he had entered a no-man's land. No one was his opponent. Seeing the bordered soil killing in the crowd, these Kirin ninjas were going crazy. They were just venting their anger. How could a monster appear? They couldn't attack each other, but the other party could attack them wantonly. This unreasonable attack made them not even know how to resist. Very good. That's it. Black Zetsu, who let Akachi accidentally be killed by Obito and then faked his death to escape, hid in the ground and looked at the scene in front of him excitedly. Cut off your fetters completely and completely transform into Madara's will. But when he was secretly fanning the flames, he suddenly perceived someone's chakra, which made him panic. Why is this bastard here? Did Kakashi secretly inform him? But I didn't notice. Forget it. It's too late to think about this. I must let the bordered soil leave quickly. Although the bordered soil was strengthened many times after the dark transformation, and even awakened the ability of the Mangekyo, but against the real monster, named Shimizu Garashi, the possibility of bordered soil winning is less than 1%. After all, that's a character that even he is afraid of. Thinking of this, he quickly controlled the bordered soil to remind him. Bordered soil, there is a very powerful chakra approaching. We must leave here quickly. However, Obito, who has completely turned black, didn't pay attention to him at all, and only cared about killing the mist ninjas. Black Zetsu was speechless for a while. The dark transformation is really troublesome. The bordered soil who used to be obedient suddenly became stubborn. However, it wasn't as if he didn't have a solution. As the dark mentor who led Madara step by step to the abyss, he knows the personality of these Uchiha too well. To deal with them, coercion is useless. You have to see their hearts, and then guide them slowly. The person who came seems to be the woodleaf Shimizu Garashi. If you are discovered by him, you may not be able to leave. Don't you think all this is fake? Inherit the will of Madara, and you can create a real world by yourself. Hearing the name of Shimizu Garashi, the bordered soil's indifferent eyes restored a trace of clarity and expectation. If it's Senpai, is it possible to save Rin? Seeing that the bordered soil seemed to have signs of deviation, Black Zetsu hurriedly said, "Do you think it's possible? He's just a medical ninja, not a god." The bordered soil hesitated for a moment, and finally looked at the dead Rin, and then disappeared with the distortion of space. He's gone? Ah, what the hell is this demon doing? The surviving mist ninjas felt like they had just experienced a nightmare. They failed the mission, lost their tailed beasts, and now they were inexplicably killed, until there were only a few of them left. Their nose was sour, and they almost burst into tears. After calming down, they looked at Kakashi and Rin lying on the ground with ferocious expressions. Damn, it's all your fault, you bastard. Don't think you'll be fine if you faint. I'll let you experience the pain we experienced. They walked toward Kakashi with a grin, but before they took a few steps, they found a figure suddenly appeared beside Kakashi. Looking at the back of the person who came, they took out their kunai vigilantly. This clothes he's a woodleaf ninja. Umph. Just let me vent. Wait, why does this guy's back look a bit familiar? One of the Kirin ninja screamed, and his body trembled like a sieve. He's Shimizu Garashi. Are you kidding me? It wasn't easy for us to survive from that monster. Run separately. Let's escape as many as we can. Garashi calmly made hand seals, created a few shadow clones, and no longer paid attention to them. He's gone? Garashi looked around a little, and when he didn't sense the bordered soil's chakra, he nodded slightly. I didn't deliberately leak my aura in vain. After confirming that there was no little tail around, Garashi calmly walked to Rin's side and squatted down to check her vital signs. Fortunately, it's not too late. Although his ice release can't replace death, it can delay Rin's death and let her hold on until his arrival. Garashi pressed on Rin's chest without changing his expression, and while stopping her bleeding, he secretly muttered to himself, "I'll use the research results I got from the Hachibi clone on you for the first time. Tailed beasts and Jinchuriki are two existences. If the tailed beast is pulled out, the Jinchuriki will die. And if the Jinchuriki dies, the tailed beast will also die. But the difference is that the tailed beast can be randomly respawned in the wild after death. So here's the problem. What if part of the tailed beast is forced to stay in the body of the Jinchuriki? Is it possible to use the rebirth characteristics of the tailed beast to keep the Jinchuriki alive? Based on Shushi's research, this was indeed possible, but two conditions had to be met first. First, to keep the dead body of the Jinchuriki from decaying. Second, to ensure the activity of the chakra left in the body of the Jinchuriki. The first point is easy to do, and his ice release can do it. The real trouble is the second point, to keep the chakra activity of the tailed beast after the death of the tailed beast. Then Garashi thought of the Hachibi. In the original work, the Hachibi was pulled out by Madara and left an octopus foot in the body of Killer Bee to keep him alive. You know, after becoming a part of the Jubi, the Hachibi is actually dead. In this case, the octopus foot can keep Killer Bee alive, which naturally explains the problem. After Garashi's research, he also mastered this ability. Under his strong intervention, a part of the dissipating chakra was intercepted by him in Rin's body. Phew, it's barely stable. After all this, Garashi exhaled a mouthful of foul air, and then methodically took out a scroll. As a reward for saving you, I'll accept the Sambai's chakra. Chapter 263. When Kakashi woke up, it was already 3 days later. Where is this? Kakashi held his swollen head, opened his eyes in a daze, looked at the pure white ceiling and muttered to himself. This is Woodleaf Hospital. The nurse next to him laughed. You've been on the battlefield for so long that you even forgot what the village looks like. Oh, it's Woodleaf Hospital. Wait, Woodleaf Hospital? Kakashi repeated, as if a bolt of lightning flashed through his mind, excitedly sat up from the bed. Where's Lin? How's Lin? Lin. You mean the little girl with you? The nurse was startled, shook her head and sighed. I'm sorry. Although she didn't say it clearly, her attitude had already explained everything. Kakashi seemed to have lost his soul, leaned against the bed and softly slid down. There are a lot of people who care about you. They'll be very happy to know that you're awake. How about I go inform them now? Kakashi didn't say anything, just looked at the ceiling in a daze. Sigh. The nurse shook her head and didn't say anything. She had seen this kind of thing many times and knew that persuasion was useless. The only thing that can heal this kind of pain is time. After an unknown amount of time, a familiar voice came from outside the door. Kakashi, can we come in? However, there was no response from the room. Did he fall asleep? The nurse reminded. You can go in directly, looking at his previous state. I was worried that he would harm himself. Harm himself? The few of them quickly pushed the door and came in, then saw Kakashi lying on the bed like a zombie. Kakashi, are you all right? Asuma asked, choosing his words carefully. We already know what happened. It's not your fault. Red comforted. Yes, you've done well enough. Shizue also said. Everyone says that you and Lin are the heroes who protected the village. Guy cheered. As if the keyword was triggered, Kakashi said in a hoarse voice. Hero? How can a trash like me be called a hero? What about Lin? Are you going to deny her sacrifice? Shueimu asked coldly. Kakashi shook his head. Of course Lin is a hero. We found a curse on Lin's body. She couldn't hurt herself, so she chose to die in your hands. Shueimu said coldly. At least your hand chop was valuable. It's all thanks to you that she became a hero. Kakashi became agitated. What did you say? Shueimu curled his lips. What? You're not going to play dead anymore? The corners of Kakashi's eyes twitched, and he had an inexplicable impulse to hit someone. However, in his current state, he would most likely be the one being beaten. Everyone had strange expressions on their faces. Sure enough, Shueimu was more effective in dealing with Kakashi. Kakashi said dejectedly, Obito died to protect me, and Rin gave me the chance to escape. She took the initiative to die in my hands. I am a person who will only bring misfortune and misfortune. So are you going to commit suicide? Shuemu asked coldly. Are you going to waste the lives that they exchanged with their lives? Kakashi was speechless for a moment. Yes, in a sense his life was no longer his own. If he continued to sink, he would be blaspheming the bordered soil and Lin's sacrifice. But the question was, what should he do? Seeing that Kakashi's mood seemed to have changed a little, everyone couldn't help but understand. So to treat Kakashi, they had to use this kind of collapse therapy? I don't know. Kakashi touched his left eye and said in disappointment. Bordered soil left this eye to me, hoping that I could protect Lin. But in order to keep this eye, I let Lin suffer misfortune instead of me. What should a person like me do? At this time, Garashi's voice suddenly came from outside the door. The reason why you're in pain and confusion is that you're too weak. Garashi. Senpai. Garashi shook his head slightly. You guys go out first. Let me have a few words with him alone. Naturally, no one objected. They left Kakashi with an encouraging look and turned to leave. When only the two of them were left in the room, Garashi said, Are you confused that I would say such cold words to you? Kakashi said dejectedly. No, it's because I'm too weak that bordered soil and Lin died for me. If I were stronger, these things might not have happened at all. Yes. All the pain of a person is essentially anger at their own incompetence. Garashi sighed. If you don't want pain to come again, keep moving toward the word strongest. Yes. I'm just angry at my own incompetence. Kakashi's eyes were confused. If I could have Senpai's strength, no matter how many traps and conspiracies, they would be nothing. He knew that Kirin, Yunin, and Rock Crypsis had planned more than one trap against Senpai. But what was the result? In the end, the three families often suffered losses, and Senpai even became stronger. It was the same experience, but the results were completely different. The reason for this was that Senpai's strength was strong enough, so strong that he could destroy all the conspiracies. Thinking of this, the confusion in Kakashi's eyes gradually dissipated. Senpai, I understand. I will make myself strong enough. I will never experience this kind of pain again. Good momentum. Garashi smiled slightly. As a reward, come to my house late tonight. A few question marks appeared on Kakashi's head. He was not red or mute. What kind of reward was this to him? But then his expression changed, and he asked in a trembling voice in disbelief. Could it be that Lin? Kakashi did not dare to ask anymore, and he did not even dare to look Garashi in the eyes. Garashi pondered. How should I say this? This matter is a bit complicated, and it may not be as you think. In short, if you want to know all this, then come. Remember, don't let anyone else know. Although he did not get a definite answer, the fact that Senpai did not deny it made him ecstatic. Kakashi nodded like a chick pecking at rice. I know, I will not tell anyone. Also, don't look so excited. Seeing that Senpai was so serious, Kakashi did not dare to underestimate him. He quickly pressed his cheeks with both hands, forcibly stopping his smile, and changed into a pouting look. Oh my god! Don't overdo it. Garashi pressed between his eyebrows helplessly, shook his head, and walked out of the door. In short, you should pay more attention to yourself. Kakashi nodded vigorously. I will definitely calm down, calm down, calm down. Ha ha ha. No, I can't do this. Kakashi decisively lifted the sheets and hid under the quilt, twisting around like a maggot. Chapter 264. It's so slow, so slow. After the excitement, Kakashi seemed to have entered the state of a sage, looking numbly at the clock on the wall. He had never looked forward to the arrival of midnight as much as he did today. The slow passage of time seemed to him as long as a century. Finally, the clock of 12 o'clock gently sounded. Kakashi jumped up from the hospital bed like a carp and covered his chest. Ahem, that was fierce. Fortunately, no one saw his shameful scene. Kakashi didn't care. After creating a shadow clone to replace him in the hospital bed, he used earth release, earth diving technique to sneak from the ground. It didn't take long for him to come to a mansion in the center of the village. Unless they were like a big fat sheep who frequented casinos, a top medical ninja generally wouldn't be short of money. Not to mention, Masashi was the inventor of the medical scroll, and he had already made a lot of money in the war. The once dilapidated wooden house outside Konoha's fifth ring has also been replaced with the current central mansion. Of course, Kakashi's attention was completely not on the mansion in front of him. Sneak in directly? Isn't that impolite? But senpai also told me to pay attention to the concealment, and I can't hide from senpai. Thinking of this, Kakashi no longer hesitated. His head shrank and sneaked into the ground again. As soon as he sneaked into the courtyard in the center of the mansion, he heard senpai's voice from above. Come out. Kakashi's heart relaxed. He released the ninjutsu and jumped out of the ground. Senpai, the reward is. Don't worry, come with me first. Kakashi excitedly followed behind Shitoshi and arrived in front of a room. Shushi pushed the door open, and Kakashi followed him in. But after a few glances, he found something wrong. Wait, this decoration looks like a bedroom, doesn't it? Kakashi's forehead couldn't help sweating, and he nervously covered his buttocks. Did I guess wrong? Is it really the reward I understood at the beginning? While Kakashi's imagination was running wild, Shushi formed a seal with his hands. Open. This is a barrier. Kakashi was surprised in his heart. Only now did he sense that there seemed to be a layer of concealment enchantment placed in the room. Then Garashi pressed on the wall. There was a slight sound of machinery turning from underground. The next moment, the floor opened up, and a flight of stairs leading underground appeared in front of the two of them. This is... Kakashi was surprised and relieved at the same time. Fortunately, the plot didn't develop in the direction he wanted it to. This is where I used to do my experiments, so I arranged it to be slightly hidden. Garashi looked back and explained. He then looked at Kakashi with a strange look and asked, What happened to you? Kakashi hurriedly removed his right hand from his hip and smiled awkwardly. Oh, by the way, I've been lying in bed for too long today. This place is a little numb. Oh, is that so? Garashi did not mind and led the way underground. Kakashi followed closely behind Garashi. As soon as he entered the underground, a gust of cold air hit him in the face, causing him to subconsciously shiver. However, he was not in the mood to care about the cold air. As he walked underground, all his attention was firmly occupied by the ice coffin in the center of the underground space. A little girl was lying in the ice coffin. Her face was peaceful, as if she was sleeping. It's Lin. Kakashi ran forward excitedly and touched the ice coffin. Even if his palm was frostbitten, he did not feel it. After looking for a while, Kakashi reluctantly turned back and asked, Senpai, what's going on? How should I explain it? Garashi gently rubbed his forehead. Briefly explained her situation. Lin is now in a vegetative state. Vegetative state? Kakashi did not have a hard time understanding this term, but he still could not believe it. I clearly killed Lin at that time. Even the tailed beast chakra in Lin's body was dispersing. Garashi smiled. So, does this mean she's dead? Kakashi's brain was a little confused. He shook his head at a loss. I don't know. For an ordinary medical ninja, such a situation is of course fatal. Garashi smiled. But for me, this situation is not the worst. No matter what, my job is a medical ninja. If I can't even save someone from the Grim Reaper, what kind of medical ninja can I be? Kakashi was shocked. Save someone from the Grim Reaper? That's amazing, as expected of senpai. Shushi, on the other hand, smiled faintly. He had not only snatched someone from the god of death, but he had also snatched the god of death himself. After the shock, Kakashi asked again. Senpai, when will Lin wake up? Garashi rubbed his chin and said with uncertainty. 3 years. 5 years. The key is when the Sanbai will be resurrected. Why is it related to the Sanbai? Kakashi wondered. Let's put it this way. First, I used the symbiotic characteristics of the Bijou and the Jinchuriki to forcibly intercept a part of the Sanbai's chakra in Lin's body. And then I used the research results I obtained from the Hachibi's clone on Lin to ensure that the activity of that part of the chakra is not dead. After a pause, Garashi went on to explain. In this way, As long as the Sambai is resurrected, we can capture the Sambai and seal it into Lin's body, making Lin a real complete Jinchuriki. And with this, she can be truly resurrected. Kakashi nodded thoughtfully. Although I don't understand it at all, it's very powerful anyway. However, it's precisely because of this. Garashi warned seriously. You have to pretend that you don't know that Lin is still alive. Ah, why? Kakashi said and suddenly realized. I know, is it because of Kirin? Kirin regards the Sambai as her exclusive property. If she knows that we are also waiting for the Sambai's resurrection, it will definitely add a lot of twists and turns to capture the Sambai. Moreover, they might even try to assassinate Lin. Shushi analyzed the situation methodically. After all, we can't guard Lin all the time. The best way to protect her is to pretend that you don't know about it at all. Even if it's for Lin, you have to pretend that you are in pain and strong. Finally, Kakashi looked at Lin, who seemed to be sleeping quietly, and resolutely said, I will be strong. Very good. That's the kind of determination you need. Garashi nodded with satisfaction, and immediately changed the topic. In order to let Kirin see your pain, and also to take revenge on them, I have a bolder idea. Kakashi wondered. What idea? Garashi softly spat out a few words. Kill the Mizukichi. That you're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.